Welcome to Tanakh Talk. I'm your host, JulieTaylor, hosting from Palmer, Alaska, and broadcasting live out of Kingsland, Texas, with another episode of Women's World with Leah Michaelson from the Holy Land of Israel. Welcome back, everybody. Hello, Miss Leah.
Shalom, Julie. Good morning and good afternoon from Israel.
All right, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So I just have a quick question before we get going on everything. How do you drive your mother crazy on Passover?
Good question. How?
It's really a piece of cake. I had to do something to make you laugh right off the bat. Or I got another one.
As long as it's one without chametz, right?
I know it. So why did the matzah quit his job?
Why?
Because he couldn't get a raise.
Oh, my goodness.
Anyway, so on a serious note.
Trying to keep things light, huh? How are things in your part of the world?
Things are pretty crazy here. Yeah, we are on pretty strict lockdown here. Pretty much all the businesses except essential, grocery, gas, those kind of things are closed down. So there's a lot of people out of work. My sister and her husband both have been laid off. So that's going to be tough for them. And so we're just kind of riding it out and seeing what happens in the next couple of weeks.
Well, hopefully with the stimulus package that's being talked about in the U.S., that will help relieve some things.
Yes,
once
we're
that
hoping.
Comes out. Yeah.
Something good's got to happen.
Amen. I mean, good things are happening in the midst. I mean, the struggle is real. It definitely is. You know, here since our show from last week, we've had another restriction. So now if we want to go out just to get some fresh air, we can only go 100 meters from our home, which is about 328 feet, which is with or without a dog. So when that happened, I was just like, oi, because I always take our dog Master, we call him Mushy, on long walks every day, at least two good long walks every day. And he's so used to that. And he's the kind of dog that needs a lot of exercise. So now kind of like walking in circles or taking him and walking back and forth. And so I tried explaining it to him the first time we went out for a short walk. And he just like looked at me like, Ima, what's going on? Come on, let's keep going, And so I just like, Mush, I'm so sorry. It's just like, we have to go. And he has this thing where he takes a stance. I mean, he'll literally take his legs and like almost as if he was like cementing them into the ground. And it's kind of like, come on, funny. Let's go, Mush. I mean, he's just like, he can be very stubborn, but that's, I think, part of his breed as well.
Right.
So now
you need a doggy treadmill.
Oh, yeah. Well, that would be nice, right? So now we just kind of like from the house, we go up some stairs, we go down a short ways to an area where he can go, and then we'll walk, down some more stairs. So I'm getting the natural Stairmaster in. So we're still getting some exercise, but it's trying to get him to go back and forth and him just not understanding. And so we're increasing playtime in the house and throwing his ball around or playing with his rope toy. So, but when that came out, I was just like, I won't say I got depressed. I was just like, I really struggled because I guess I could understand a little bit maybe with what people are going through with kids, having the kids in the house. Now they're limited. So now even our dog is limited. Yeah. So it was hard. So, and he doesn't understand.
Right. So, big adjustments.
We're all going through the adjustments. So, but we can still go out to get groceries or to the pharmacy. But we just found out that the airport authority here said don't expect resumption of operations until July.
Oh, wow.
So, my husband looked at me and goes, well, so much for our trip, because we were planning a trip to see family in the U.S. There's a baby due. We're celebrating a a big birthday for one of our family members. And so, but that could change,
It could.
We don't know.
It could.
So, but as of today, we are now up to 4,347 cases.
Oh, wow.
19 and 16 deaths. And every time we hear of another death, it's just like, Baruch Dayan HaEmet, blessed is the righteous judge. It's so hard, because we're just praying for health for everyone. And
definitely.
So, and we're waiting to see if we're going to have more restrictions put in place, because there are people that are still not listening to the restrictions that have been given. There were hundreds of people attending a funeral of a rabbi in Bnei Brak. Mm-hmm. And so hundreds of people. We're only supposed to have a small amount of people. Men can still have a minyan of 10, but they have meters apart. It has to be out in the open because all the synagogues have been closed. So they're still doing that. But even then, that's causing difficulties.
Right.
So in that city alone, there's 300 cases of the virus there. And the health minister is talking about he wants to close off the city. So because of the outbreak in that city in Bnei Brak, it's throughout Israel, but particularly there, the city's rabbis consulted with a very big Rav, Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky. Mm-hmm. And he said that everyone should pray alone and not with a minyan, because this is a pekuach nefesh. It's a danger to life.
Right.
So you need to be protecting life. So last week we talked about where's our focus. Are we focusing on the slop bucket? We talked about filling ourselves or saturating ourselves with social media and the news, and how this is a time and a chance for us, an opportunity for us to refocus, to draw closer to Hashem and focus on Torah. So today we're talking about preparation. So leaving Mitzrayim. And so we're preparing for Passover, for Pesach, which is coming up next week, and the remembrance of the Exodus from Mitzrayim. So we're preparing physically. We're cleaning our homes. We're removing the chametz, anything that has leavening. Some have started shopping for Passover items. And so, but how are we preparing ourselves? How are we preparing ourselves spiritually and removing the chametz from ourselves? So I want to share with you about my experience. I had a Mitzrayim experience last year. We're coming up just on a year. It happened just on Shabbat HaGadol, which is the Shabbat right before Passover, which is Shabbat HaGadol is actually this Friday. Mm-hmm. And so it really was an incredible experience, and it was a very painful time as well. So when we moved back to Tzfat, which is about a year and a half ago, it'll be 2 years in August. And so we moved into this home, and beautiful and wonderful, but then the rain started to come. And once the rain started to come, mold started to enter the house. Now, it's very normal for old buildings to have some mold, but this house was filled with mold. And part of it was because the home above us, the landlord's home, actually, there were cracks in their mirpeset, which that's what we call a patio here. And so all the rain came down in between. So it literally flooded right above our ceilings. So our ceilings were wet, our walls were wet. So we had mold in every single room. All the ceilings had mold, all the walls had mold, the furniture had mold inside and out. Everything was covered. Now, so I became sick. It gave me a really bad asthma flare-up. And so our struggle really began, and we had a number of months with that and fighting with our landlord to let us out of our lease. And so we didn't just have the mold, we also had an instance where water was released from a few apartments above us, a lot of water, and it caused our chatzer, which is our courtyard, our front courtyard. So that caused like this big cement lid to lift up and flood our whole courtyard with water and sewage. So that happened. So between having a house filled with mold, I'm sick, and it just would not stop, and the fighting was continuing. And so we wound up getting an attorney so we could try and get out of our lease. So this is going on for months. And I finally just reached a point where I had enough, because the doctor couldn't get control of the asthma I was having. I mean, I'm having a hard time breathing. So, and part of that, and talking about, I want to just interject, talking about having mold is like sara'at, which sara'at is the Hebrew word. It's often translated as leprosy, but it's not the same as the disease we call leprosy.
Right.
So sara'at is a skin disease, and it can take many forms, and in particularly bad cases, it can manifest itself on one's clothing, belongings, and house, in addition to the skin. According to rabbis, sara'at is caused by sin. So it makes it like no other disease, and part medical, but part spiritual. So here we are talking about the spiritual aspect. So with all of this and everything I was going through in this house, I had one day, and it was actually, I mentioned Shabbat Hagadol, and I had taken Moshe out on one of our walks, and just having a conversation with Hashem, and Hitbodedut. I talked about it last week. Hitbodedut, just going and having a conversation with Hashem, like Julie, like you and I talk.
Right.
And so I just got to a point and just said some things to Hashem and was honest with him and how I was feeling. And it was just like, enough is enough. I don't want to do this anymore. And so, I got back home. My husband met me in the courtyard, and I was just sharing with him what I had said to Hashem, and I broke down hysterical crying. I mean, the floodgates open, and I was just like, I want to be well. I don't want to live like this. Enough is enough. I had enough. And so he just held me and he calmed me down. But in doing that, it was so liberating to actually finally release everything that I had going on inside. And so after that, he made a phone call to a friend because now that we have the attorney, we're moving. Once it happens, we just need to be ready to go. And so we needed to be prepared. And so he called a friend who's a real estate agent, and he said, can you do something, please? I want to help make my wife feel better. And so, she took me, we looked at a place, which is actually the house that we're in now, Baruch Hashem, such a gift from Hashem. But anyway, so we did that, after having that incredible release and feeling liberated, I decided, all right, we're preparing to move. I need to find boxes. So here we have what's called a shiputzim bag. And a shiputzim is used construction. And so they're really large canvas bags. So if I stood up, it would probably come up to like my waist. They're probably at least like 3 feet high. They're really large. So I took one of those bags and I thought, I'm just going to go hunt for boxes. So I went around to the different areas where leftover boxes are, or people will put boxes next to the trash bins. And so I came upon a place and I was like, score, I found a bunch of boxes. So I filled this shiputzim bag, this big construction bag filled with boxes higher than the top of the bag. So the boxes were actually above my head and it was filled. And with boxes can get heavy.
Right.
So I took this, there's handles on it. I took it, I hoisted it onto my back. And we have we call them big stairs because it was from one street up to the next was a lot of stairs just to get up to our old house. And I'm climbing up this, and I'm like, how heavy it was. And I'm thinking of all the children of Israel. And it was like, it was just a little taste of what they went through in Mitzrayim, carrying bricks, carrying straw, everything that they had to do, carrying everything on their backs. And this, all right, I'm carrying boxes, but it was like, it was a taste of Mitzrayim a bit. And so I go into the courtyard, and my husband starts coming out, and I literally shouted, Mitzrayim, because I was like, oh my gosh, this is like Mitzrayim. And so, I mean, it was an incredible experience. And so, finally, after fighting and just really praying and it being such a painful time, I remember one of my closest friends in that time when I was talking to her, and she said to me, she said, have you thanked Hashem for it? And I was like, excuse me? What? I'm living in a house full of mold. Everything has mold on it. My clothes, my furniture, everything. It's filled with mold. She said, I know. But have you thanked Hashem even in this situation? And I really had to think about it because it was a hard thing to hear, so I got to a place where I was like, okay, Hashem, I don't understand, why I'm going through this. You're bringing things out and of me, and things are coming up, and okay, so, thank you for what I'm going through. Thank you for all of this. It's painful, but I know you're doing something in me. And so we're all going through this physicality right now of this virus and the restrictions, and we're having freedoms taken away. Now, we're still free, but we're not free to come and go as we please right now. I mean, I can't just get up and say, all right, Moshe, let's go for a long walk, or, okay, let's go travel to this place. And, we don't have a car, and the buses are very limited, maybe 25% right now. And so we're facing an unknown with this, and we don't know how long it's going to last. And we're facing possibly more restrictions and even more of our freedoms taken away. I mean, there's talk that they may close down all the restaurants. Right now, there's some restaurants open for deliveries. So what are we going to do in this time? So when I'm talking about my Mitzrayim experience, for me, it was like I was ready just to say, okay, you know what? I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I've had enough. This is just, it's too much. And so, or are we going, use it? Are we going to use this time to go towards Hashem? Because instead of me saying, all right, Hashem, you know what? I'm done. I used it last year to push myself forward and to push myself towards Him, and allowing Him to prepare me spiritually in the things. And we're all going through different things. We all have things that are coming up to the surface, and the chametz in us. I know that's something we talk about every year and for Passover. And so we have things within us, and what an opportunity that we can take this time. And it is a painful time. I mean, we're seeing so many people that are dying from this. And it's affecting everyone. At first, people thought, oh, it's just the elderly. Like some of the young people thought, well, it's not going to be me. But we're seeing a lot of young people are affected as well. It's honestly, it's no respecter of person. It's from babies all the way up to the elderly.
All the way, right?
Yeah. So I was talking with a friend of mine today, because I was talking with her about being thankful and in the situations. And I am not, ladies, I am not telling you, it's very hard. Like for me, I can't tell you, oh, you know what, you should be thankful in this situation. That's something between you and Hashem. because for me, that's something between myself and Hashem. And for me, it's like, I was thinking about it. For me, it's like, all right, Hashem, for me, I'm like, all right, I'm in this situation. I'm still comfortable in my home. I still have these things. I have these restrictions. I don't have the freedom that I used to have right now. And I don't know what's going to happen. And when I was talking with my friend, she said, growth is the hard stuff. Pain brings us to growth. And you've heard of growing pains?
Right. No pain, no
gain. Birthing. Right. So it's painful, but is it something that is going to pull us away? Or is it something that we're going to say, no, I'm not going to be pulled away. I'm going towards Hashem because I want to get rid of whatever is in me. I want to grow and in preparation for what's to come. Yeah. And so we don't know. Are we, Bezrat Hashem, when all of this is over, we're done with the virus, are we going to say, remember what happened? Or are we going to be like, shoo, dodge that bullet? Right. And so, I've lived through a lot of hurricanes. I made Aliyah from Florida. And so I was in Hurricane Andrew, and that was a very devastating hurricane. My husband, Yitzchak, we weren't together at that time, but he was in just outside of Homestead. He had a landscape nursery. And so the hurricane turned right at the last minute. It was supposed to go further up, more north. And so because of that, my mother and I went further south and stayed with friends. And so we were in a brick house. And I have to tell you, those winds came, and I thought that brick house was going to be destroyed. I mean, it was eerie. And so, but my husband, being in the house on the landscape nursery, was holding the door shut.
Oh, wow.
From the winds. I mean, it was horrible. And then once it was over, there was complete devastation.
Yeah.
And I went down there with friends to bring supplies. And what I saw, I had never seen anything like it. The only time I've ever seen complete devastation either is in pictures or in movies.
Right.
And so, I mean, it was incredible. And so, but my husband was telling me that a year later, people were walking around as if nothing happened. For me, I don't want to do that. This is, a time for us, as we continue to prepare ourselves for Passover. We also need to remember, this time, when Hashem brings us out, as we come into this time of remembrance that we're preparing ourselves for, of all that Hashem did for our ancestors and bringing them out of Mitzrayim, they experienced freedom and liberty, and they received the Torah.
Amen.
So we need to trust that Hashem is going to bring us out of this Mitzrayim, each of us individually, from whatever it is that we're going through and our own personal Mitzrayim, and collectively of this Mitzrayim that we're in with this virus. And that one day we'll have the liberty and the freedom. But let us remember, for me, I don't want to walk around in another year, that Bezrat Hashem, all of this will be done soon. Everybody should have good health, and that this should just pass quickly over us. But I want to be able to remember that time as, okay, Hashem, it was painful. It was so difficult, but you brought us out. You brought us out of this. And so, ladies, we're in this together. Be encouraged. We're going to get through this. You're not alone. I know the struggle is real. I mentioned that before. I still have my moments. But I just was reminded of what I went through with my physical Mitzrayim experience, and now focusing on the spiritual. And so as we prepare and we're cleaning our homes, and let's try and prepare ourselves as well. And as we continue to grow through this, let's continue to blossom and shine bright through.
Yes. Yes. Yes, we can. We can do it. We're strong women.
We are.
Yeah.
We absolutely are. Ladies, I'm just sending you much love.
Yes, me too.
So much love to you all. Oh, if I could just take you and just give you all a big hug and just say, it's okay. It's going to be okay. We're getting through this. And you are just stronger than you may realize. And you can do this. So.
Yes. But when you were talking about being thankful through our turmoils and thankful when you were in your home with the mold, it did remind me of a time I went through that I had thought I found my dream house and everything lined up, and then last minute it all fell through. Well, I decided every time I drove by that house, it was up on a hill over a lake in our town, that I looked up at that house and I said, thank you for my new house. And I did that every time I drove by. And sure enough, about 2 weeks later, the sellers called and said, we'd like to offer you the house. The other people fell through. So, yes, being thankful. Yes.
Yeah.
There is something to that.
Absolutely. So once we were able to leave, it was interesting. We packed up that house 2 weeks. We didn't do it before then because we had to wipe everything down from everything had to be wiped down. I mean, a lot of stuff was thrown out. And it's like, all right, it's stuff. For me, it was like, I know when people talk about stuff, I'm like, okay, everything that I have holds a memory. So it's always there for me. So it might seem like stuff, but it's memories. So, but afterwards, once we were out, we followed up with our doctor. Mm-hmm. And I remember sitting there with him. And of course, now every time we went, we showered, we washed our clothes, everything. So, but now that we're out of this Mitzrayim, out of this place that was filled with mold, so, and in this incredible new home, so we're sitting in front of him and he looks at us and he goes, okay, this is not meant to sound nasty, he said, but you smell different.
Oh, wow.
So he could smell the mold on us. Mm-hmm. And so it was like we left that physical part of it, like it was gone. Now, it took 15 months for me to finally be done with all the asthma medication. So Baruch Hashem, that happened maybe a month ago, and my lungs were great. And he said, okay, it was all because of the mold.
Wow.
So Baruch Hashem. So it's a time that Hashem brought me through, and he's bringing us through all of this. And so we have an opportunity. We talked about perspective last week. We have an opportunity. So as we continue to focus on Hashem, and let's not focus on that slop bucket we talked about last week.
Right.
But focus on Hashem and be willing to go through the pain, knowing that there's growth. And so like when a tree gets planted, I love trees. If anyone knows me, knows how much I love trees because they speak so much to me. And so when the roots are growing down and outward, there's still rocks, there's hardness, there's things that has to push through in order for the roots to grow down even further, for the growth to go upward. Right. And so for us, it's a time of growth.
That's awesome.
And, so let us just continue to focus on Hashem, and that everyone should just have good health and strength and the courage and everything that they need to get through this time and to get through what Hashem has for us after this. To see how things are going to look after this. It might be a completely new thing.
Could be.
Baruch Hashem, which would be great.
Right. And just a reminder to everybody, too, that our emails are up on the screen. So if you need a little extra support or you need an ear to vent to or need a little encouragement, please email one of us or find us on Facebook. And we would be happy to talk with you or set you up with somebody that might be in your area closer that you could meet with. But please reach out if you need help. You're not alone. We're here to help you and encourage you.
Absolutely. We all need it. I reach out to friends because, as I said, it's hard at times.
It is hard.
And we need our people, our friends that are close by. And that could be a phone call away. That could be a virtual chat.
Right. I discovered Zoom.
Oh my gosh, isn't that incredible?
Yeah. Okay. I know I'm behind times, but we had a big really family great. Zoom. We had like 25 of us on. There was like 3 pages we had to scroll back and forth, but it was like cousins I hadn't talked to since I was a teenager, and my grandpa who lives in Florida, and it was just fantastic.
It's great. Yeah, yes. I did that yesterday with my family, my brother and my sister-in-law, and with my nephews and nieces and grandnephews and grandnieces, and it was amazing. And I put a post on Facebook about it. And so then one of my cousins posted and said, let me know, I want to join. So, I mean, it's just, Baruch Hashem, that we have the technology. We have things to help us through these times as well. And it really is a blessing. And, there's so much out there. I know we talked about it last week with everything that people are doing and to help one another. So, but we're here for you, ladies. We're here for you.
Yes.
So I think next week, since we've been talking so much about preparation, I think we're going to talk about having a Seder.
Oh, that would be good.
Because of under the restrictions we have, there are going to be a number of people that are going to be alone. So I want to talk about that and share some things about that will help.
That sounds good. That should be a good show. So you ladies will want to tune back in next week, same time, same place. We will be here and eager to see you. And if you have any questions, you can email us in the meantime. And we hope you all have a wonderful week.
Love you all.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
תמיד כולם ביחד, חשוב מכל חשוב והכרחי להיות ביחד. איפוק זו העוצמה, ויתור זו הגדולה, השאיפה והכמיהה. אני אתה אתם תמיד כולם ביחד, חשוב מכל חשוב והכרחי להיות ביחד. איפוק זו העוצמה, ויתור זו הגדולה, השאיפה והכמיהה. חושבים דוברים לובשים בכל האופנים, זה טבעם של אנשים שונים. נזכור בסוף כולנו שותפים, חשוב תמיד להיות אנושיים. חושבים דוברים לובשים בכל האופנים, זה טבעם של אנשים שונים. נזכור בסוף חשוב תמיד להיות אנושיים. אני אתה אתם תמיד כולם ביחד, חשוב מכל חשוב